The Dulce Base underground facility accounts from New Mexico beneath Archuleta Mesa. Whistleblowers claim a joint human-alien facility operates in complete secrecy, or is it disinformation? Archuleta Mesa rises from the high desert of northern New Mexico like a natural fortress, its rocky slopes dominating the landscape near the small town of Dulce on the Jicarilla Apache Reservation. The mesa itself appears unremarkable to the casual observer, just another geological formation in a region defined by dramatic terrain and vast emptiness. But beginning in the late 1970s, accounts began to emerge from multiple independent sources describing something extraordinary hidden beneath the mesa's ancient stone. A massive underground facility where human personnel allegedly work alongside extraterrestrial beings in projects that defy conventional understanding. The accounts originate from three primary sources, each claiming direct knowledge of the facility through different means. Their testimonies emerged independently, yet describe remarkably similar characteristics of the alleged installation. The consistency of these descriptions, combined with the suspicious circumstances surrounding the lives of those who spoke publicly, creates one of the most controversial cases in modern anomalous research. Paul Bennewitz represents the first documented source of the Dulce Base accounts. An Albuquerque businessman and electronics specialist with training in physics, Bennewitz operates Thunder Scientific Corporation, a company specializing in humidity monitoring equipment. His technical credentials lend weight to his claims. He possesses the expertise necessary to conduct the type of electronic surveillance he describes. In the early 1980s, Bennewitz claims to have intercepted unusual communications emanating from the area beneath Archuleta Mesa using specialized equipment he designed himself. The signals Bennewitz reports detecting appear unlike conventional radio traffic. He describes low-frequency transmissions that suggest activity beneath the surface rather than above it. His investigation leads him to focus specifically on the Dulce area, where the signal characteristics indicate a source deep underground. Bennewitz documents his findings meticulously, creating reports that combine technical data with increasingly alarming conclusions about what the facility contains. His research attracts attention from multiple quarters. Civilian UFO researchers express interest in his technical approach and the specificity of his claims. More significantly, Bennewitz's investigation allegedly draws the attention of the Air Force Office of Special Investigations. What happens next becomes a case study in either the discrediting of genuine discovery or the psychological manipulation of a civilian whose beliefs have crossed into paranoia. According to researchers who later examined the Bennewitz case, AFOSI personnel allegedly engage in a sustained disinformation campaign designed to amplify and distort his beliefs. They reportedly feed him false information that mixes with his legitimate observations, creating an increasingly elaborate and disturbing narrative that eventually overwhelms his ability to distinguish fact from fiction. His mental health deteriorates under the weight of what he believes he has discovered. The disinformation campaign, if it occurred as described, succeeds in neutralizing Bennewitz as a credible source. The critical question remains unanswered. Was the alleged disinformation campaign designed to discredit a man who had genuinely discovered something extraordinary? Or was it an operation to manage a civilian whose unfounded beliefs threatened to create public disturbance? Some declassified materials acknowledge contact between AFOSI and Bennewitz, but the full scope and intent of the interaction remains unclear. The second major source of Dulce-based testimony emerges through Thomas Casello, who claims to have worked as a senior security officer at the facility itself. Casello never appears publicly. His testimony comes through researchers who claim to be conveying his account. The indirect nature of this testimony immediately raises credibility questions, yet the specificity and internal consistency of the descriptions demand examination. Casello describes the base as a vast multi-level facility carved into the rock beneath Archuleta Mesa. According to his account, the uppermost levels house conventional administrative and research operations that might exist in any classified military installation. As one descends, however, the nature of the work changes dramatically. The middle levels allegedly contain biological research facilities where genetic experimentation occurs. The deepest levels, Casello claims, house non-human entities and serve purposes that remain unclear even to most facility personnel. The layout Casello describes follows a compartmentalized security structure where personnel possess clearance for specific levels only. This organizational approach, common in classified military projects, means that most workers never gain a complete picture of the facility's full scope. Casello claims his security position allowed him unusual access across multiple levels, providing him a broader understanding than most employees possessed. According to Casello's account, the facility operates as a joint project between human military and intelligence agencies and extraterrestrial beings with their own agenda. The relationship between these groups appears tense and uneasy, marked by conflicting objectives and mutual suspicion. Casello describes witnessing activities in the lower levels that disturbed him sufficiently to resign his position and eventually decide to speak about what he observed. The nature of the alleged experiments Casello describes involves genetic manipulation and biological research that crosses ethical boundaries. He reports seeing holding areas containing beings that appear neither fully human nor fully alien, the results of hybridization projects conducted in the facility's laboratories. The conditions in which these subjects exist, according to Casello, amount to imprisonment and experimental abuse on a massive scale. Casello's decision to come forward through intermediaries rather than directly raises obvious questions about the veracity of his claims. No independent verification of his employment exists. No documentation supports his descriptions. His testimony remains entirely uncorroborated, yet researchers continue to reference his account because of its detailed consistency and the internal logic of the facility structure he describes. The third significant witness emerges in the mid-1990s when Phil Schneider begins giving public lectures about his experiences working on deep underground military base construction projects. Schneider claims credentials as a structural engineer specializing in the challenging work of excavating and reinforcing massive underground facilities. Unlike Casello, Schneider appears in person, speaking at conferences and making himself available for interviews. Schneider's account of events at Dulce differs from the other testimonies because he describes direct confrontation. According to his lectures, he participated in construction expansion of the Dulce facility in 1979. During excavation work, his crew allegedly broke through into an existing cavern system already occupied by alien beings. The encounter escalates into armed conflict in which several military personnel lose their lives. Schneider himself sustains serious injuries that leave him with permanent physical damage he displays during his presentations. The scars and missing fingers Schneider exhibits during his lectures provide tangible evidence that something traumatic occurred in his past, though they cannot confirm the specific cause he describes. His technical knowledge of underground construction techniques appears genuine, and his descriptions of the excavation process carry the authority of professional experience. Whether that experience includes the specific events at Dulce remains unverifiable. Schneider speaks publicly about the Dulce incident and other classified projects from 1995 until his death in January 1996. He claims during this period that his decision to reveal information about deep underground facilities has made him a target. He describes multiple attempts on his life and expresses fear that speaking publicly has put him in mortal danger. When authorities find Schneider deceased in his apartment, the official determination rules the death a self-inflicted event. His family immediately disputes this conclusion. They point to the specific circumstances and to Schneider's repeated warnings that forces connected to the classified projects he discussed would silence him. The suspicious timing, coming during his active lecture circuit when he was reaching growing audiences, reinforces their skepticism about the official explanation. No independent investigation has successfully verified the existence of the facility the three witnesses describe. The Dulce area remains under the jurisdiction of the Jicarilla Apache Nation, which controls access to reservation lands. Researchers who attempt to survey Archuleta Mesa from accessible vantage points report observing what they interpret as unusual security presence for such a remote location, though this observation alone proves nothing. Some investigators document geological features in the Archuleta Mesa area that appear consistent with subsurface excavation, unusual ground composition patterns, and survey markers that suggest previous drilling operations. These observations fall far short of confirming an underground facility, much less one containing the extraordinary elements the witnesses describe. Natural geological processes could explain the observed features without requiring any artificial excavation. The broader context of the Dulce accounts connects to the paranormal geography of the Four Corners region. The area sits within proximity to lands where Navajo and Apache traditions describe dangerous entities and forbidden places. Skinwalker accounts from these indigenous cultures describe shape-shifting beings and locations where supernatural danger concentrates. Some researchers draw parallels between traditional avoidance of certain lands and the alleged modern presence of the underground facility. This connection remains speculative and controversial. Indigenous people from the area often object to their spiritual traditions being conflated with UFO conspiracy theories. The Skinwalker concept carries specific cultural meaning that researchers risk distorting when they incorporate it into narratives about alien bases. Nevertheless, the geographical overlap between areas of traditional spiritual concern and modern anomalous reports creates patterns that some investigators find significant. The Dulce base accounts occupy an unusual position in paranormal research. They represent some of the most dramatic claims in American anomalous investigation, while simultaneously remaining among the least substantiated. No physical evidence confirms the facility's existence. No documentation verifies the employment of the witnesses who describe it. No independent investigator has gained access to prove or disprove the claims. Yet the accounts persist and proliferate. The consistency across independent testimonies creates a puzzle that simple dismissal cannot fully resolve. The documented disinformation campaign against Benuits, confirmed in some declassified materials, proves that official agencies took his claims seriously enough to mount a response, though whether this response aimed to obscure truth or manage delusion remains unclear. The fates of those who spoke publicly about Dulce add another layer to the mystery. Benuits's mental deterioration, Schneider's disputed death, and Casello's disappearance into anonymity create a pattern that either suggests genuine danger or represents coincidence and natural tragedy amplified by conspiracy interpretation. The absence of definitive answers allows both skeptical and believing perspectives to maintain their positions without conclusive refutation. The Dulce base case demonstrates the challenges inherent in investigating claims that exist at the intersection of the paranormal, classified military operations, and conspiracy theory. Without physical evidence or official acknowledgement, researchers can only analyze testimony, look for patterns, and acknowledge the fundamental uncertainty that defines the case. The facility beneath Archuleta Mesa may exist exactly as described, may represent complete fabrication, or may reflect distorted perception of something else entirely. The evidence available cannot distinguish between these possibilities. What remains documented and undisputed is simpler. Multiple individuals made specific claims about an underground facility near Dulce, New Mexico. Their lives changed, and in some cases ended, in connection with those claims. The The mesa continues to rise above the high desert, keeping whatever secrets it may hold locked beneath ancient stone and modern silence. If you found this case compelling, subscribe to Vanishing Roads for more documented paranormal investigations from around the world. This story was created with AI assistance based on documented case files. All events reference real investigations and reported incidents.